In this 13th and final Sunday of the season, we call to mind the freedom of belief section of the proposed revised Unitarian Universalist bylaws, which say, congregational freedom and the individual's right of conscience are central to our Unitarian Universalist heritage. Congregations may establish statements of purpose, covenants, and bonds of union so long as they do not require that members adhere to a particular creed. Good morning. I'm Barbara Martin, she, her, hers, and I'm your celebrant associate for this morning.
And I'm Reverend Meredith Garmon. He, him is fine, although I kind of like Z, Zir. I'm the interim minister of this congregation.
Welcome to the First Unitarian Church of Des Moines. Our church is located on lands that are the traditional territory of the indigenous Iowa and Sac and Fox peoples. And as we enter this space, let us recommit to understanding the history of the land it occupies and to owning our part in the work of education, reparation, and healing. Now, each of us comes to this church in our own way, with our own history and our own hopes and strengths and needs. And as the community changes, grows, and deepens, so do we all. We change, and we are changed by this church in countless ways. We hope that here you find thoughts which challenge, music that entertains, welcome that invites you into community, and people to accompany you along your journey.
We are an intergenerational community, bound not by creed or canon, but by covenant. Our bylaws set forth our bond of union. We associate ourselves together for the study and practice of morality and religion as interpreted by the growing thought and noblest lives of humanity, hoping thereby to prove helpful to one another and to promote truth, righteousness, and love in the world. That purpose is reiterated in this congregation's mission to grow ethically and spiritually, serve justly, and love radically.
It's a blessing that you were born. It matters what you do. Your experience of the divine is true, and you don't have to go it alone.
Today is the 13th and final Sunday of summer. The autumnal equinox will be at 2:50 a.m. next Saturday, and the moon was new on Thursday and is now waxing crescent.
A special welcome to our visitors and to any children that are with us today. And if you get a little antsy, there is a petite play place in the back that you may want to escape to. Please silence your phones, and those at home, stay muted, please.
Our apologies, we won't be having slides up with the lyrics to the hymns and so on today. Everything you need to know is in your order of service or in your hymnal. We're in the midst of tech transition, and we just don't have slides today. We begin with the lighting of our chalice.
Please say with me, the unison chalice lighting words of Susan Frederick Gray. Did you find those? Okay. It is covenant that brings us out of isolation, covenant that brings us out of selfish concerns, out of individualism, to join ourselves to something greater, to become a part of a community that is working to practice love. Our opening hymn, number 360, Here We Have Gathered.
Good morning. It's nice to look out and see so many good friends. Old friends, new friends, some soon-to-be friends. I'm David Whitkey, and in calendar years, I've become an old man. But in spirit and in attitude, I'm still a young buck. And I'm here this morning, up here this morning, to share with you a key practice that has helped keep me so frisky. It's not a secret practice. It's a practice that's available to any of you, any of us, just for the asking, and maybe $10 in a casserole. What is this magic practice? Well, it's Unity Circle. Some might call Unity Circle a spiritual practice, but if you know me, you know I wouldn't. I'd call it a culinary practice, or even more, a community building practice. Culinary because the potlucks are incomparable. You don't want to miss them. Community building because Unity Circle is a rich opportunity for good conversation among friends and acquaintances, old and new. It's a relaxed and leisurely opportunity to get to know each other better, even more conducive than our after-church coffee hour. Then you toss in an interesting program or speaker, and you end up with what might be called a Unitarian Trinity: good food, good community, and good intellectual stimulation. Start at 11:30 a.m., third Thursday of each month during the church year, most months church year. We sometimes January and February because of weather. This month we'll be meeting on the Thursday at 11:30. Everyone is invited, young and old, always. Suggested dues are $10, but they're not required or to eat. We want to see everybody. Al Stewart and Birch will provide this Thursday's program. They're going to teach us Realm, an online tool, the center for our church communication of all kinds. You have a portable device if you brought it with you, but it's not required. And let the word online shoo you away. Our past year with Reverend Victoria, a great emphasis has been put on improved communications, keeping everyone better informed as to what's going on. Realm is designed to do exactly that, to further strengthen our beloved. Please notice that I put in the word beloved. That's almost a requirement these days. I think maybe the U.S. New Eagle. So please, this coming Thursday, our beloved Unity Circle. Oh, and it's 145th year, dating back to 1878, only 1 year after the founding of our church. And that 145 history has been filled with extraordinary contributions to our church, to our larger local community, even to the nation. It's a history worthy of a full Sunday service sometime. But for now, we hope to see you Thursday. We'll enjoy it.
Good morning. My name is Birch Spick. My pronouns are they, them, and theirs, and I am your Faith Formation and Congregational Life Coordinator. Today, we are beginning 2 of our children and youth programs. Our classroom for kindergarten through 4th grade will start after I read this time for all ages, and our high school group will meet tonight at 6 p.m. Other classes will begin in October. Today's story is I Promise by David McPhail. Baby Bear and his mother were splashing in the pool below the waterfall. "Will you sing to me, Mama?" shouted Baby Bear over the roar of the falling water. "Later, dear," Mama Bear shouted back. "I promise." "What's a promise?" Baby Bear asked as they sat in the sun drying off. A promise is one day you will do something, answered Mother Bear, and then you do your very best to do it. What if you don't do it? Said Baby Bear. Then it becomes a broken promise. Can you fix it? Asked Baby Bear. Not easily, said his mother. That's why it's Then I told you with him if I promise. What do you think? His mother replied. Said Baby Bear. I think it was hurt Billy Bear's feelings. Baby Bear. Mother and Baby Bear got up and walked along the riverbank. Do you promise, Mama? Baby Bear asked. I promise to lie in the meadow with you and watch the clouds float by. Maybe we will see one that looks like an elephant, Baby Bear said excitedly. What else do you promise? I promise to listen, have something to tell me, said Mother Bear. Like when I told you I thought there was a dragon under my bed? Yes, exactly, said Mother Bear. I remember that we looked, but we didn't find anything. And you stayed with me until I fell asleep, said Baby Bear, just in case. That's what mothers do, his mother told him. They walked down to the orchard where the apples were nearly ripe. Mother Bear shook some from the tree. What else do you promise? I promise to give you good things to eat, said Mother Bear, so that you will always grow up to be big and strong. Will I be as big as you, Mama? Asked Baby Bear. Oh, yes, dear, said Mother Bear, maybe even bigger. Will you sing to me now? Baby Bear asked. Not now, dear, mumbled his mother, her mouth full of apple. Later, I promise. After a while, they walked toward the deep woods. What else do you promise? Baby Bear asked. I promise to teach you the things you will need to know about growing up. But I will also promise to let you discover some things for yourself. I don't know everything. You don't? Said Baby Bear, sounding surprised. I don't, his mother replied. No one knows all there is to know. Do you promise I will always be happy? Baby Bear asked. I can't promise you that, said his mother. Your happiness will depend mostly on you, but I'll do everything I can to help. Now they were on the path that led home. The sun had set and the moon was rising. Do you promise anything else? Asked Baby Bear. I promise I will love you, said Mother Bear, always and forever. No matter what? Baby Bear asked. No matter what, Mother Bear promised. Baby Bear was very tired, so Mother Bear picked him up and carried him the rest of the way home. I can't wait to see Billy Bear tomorrow, said Baby Bear. I'm glad I promised to play with him. That must feel good, said Mother Bear. You'll be keeping your promise and having fun too. When they reached their den, Mother Bear laid Baby Bear down on his bed and tucked him in. Can I promise you something? Mama, Baby Bear asked. Of course, dear. What is it? I promise I will be a good bear, Baby Bear told her. Most of the time. Most of the time we'll do nicely, said Mother Bear. Then she sang to her baby until it was time to go to sleep. Good night, Baby Bear. We'll sing the children out using a hymn that will be familiar to many of you, pasted in the back of your hymnal, the very back page. Go in joy, go in peace to greet
the day. With open hearts embrace life's wonder. We will guide you, we will love you on your way.
Any children that would like to go down to our classroom, we'll be headed down there now.
Both of our readings this morning are brought to us from our beloved Martha Sherrick Shin, who is a poet and a prolific writer, and the person I ran to right away when Reverend Meredith said that I was to prepare the readings. I have reversed the order just to keep you alert there. I am starting with an orchestra is a group of diverse people who play different instruments. They come together in agreement, an unspoken covenant of sorts, to play their part in a certain set of musical compositions. This takes an art of listening and attention to notes and rhythms and intonation. Our connections groups are much like an orchestra. We have an unspoken agreement to listen respectfully, to hold what is spoken confidential, and to be a witness to each other's lives and hold them sacred. We are an orchestra, each with a different sound, different talents, different notes to play, different looks, different parts, but we all harmonize and make music together. And from this observation of Martha's comes her poem, The Music of the Universe. They say the whole world vibrates. Each molecule, each subatomic particle is not static. Each one vibrates and sounds its own chord. It is a universal orchestra, and the cosmos dances to the tune. Do I hear the music? Do I still the static in my head long enough to listen? Do my feet feel the beat? Does it touch me? Move me to sound my own notes in harmony. Well, what song is this that fills me with wonder and awe? From the crickets with their violin legs, to trees trembling on the fingers of the wind, heralding the sound of the world's refrain, and the light, both a particle and a wave, electric, charged. It excites the song, magnetism, and the light touches all, and I am lit from within. The music is in me. And now we will vibrate even more for you.
Let me invite you into a spirit of meditation, and a posture of meditation. If you would, sit up straight, feet flat on the floor. Eyes can be open or closed, or maybe 3/4 closed. Just open a slit. As we are gathered, let us call to mind and collectively hold in our hearts all the beauty and wonder, all the grief and pain that is in this life and this world. Our hearts today are going out to the people of Morocco. The death toll from their 6.8 magnitude earthquake exceeds 3,000, with more than 5,000 injured. Our hearts go out to the people of Libya as they continue to search for more than 10,000 missing after massive rainfall destroyed dams outside of Derna. More than 5,000 people are reported dead, with over 30,000 left homeless and in unsafe conditions. Our hearts go out to the people of Brazil, where heavy rains and floods in the Rio Grande do Sul caused the death of over 30. May the survivors find strength and courage, for their journey will be long and hard. And as domestic violence rates rise worldwide, we here now share in a moment of mourning the lives of women murdered at the hands of someone they loved. And our hearts go out to victims of disasters and accidents this week. In Nigeria, a boat carrying more than 100 farmers capsized, killing at least 26 people, mostly women and children. In Hanoi, Vietnam, a deadly fire at a 9-story apartment tower caused the death of over 55 people. And in Louisiana this week, yet another school shooting left 1 dead and 2 injured. Amid this grief, we rejoice that there are many people doing such important service, living lives of compassion and integrity. We are grateful for the scientists, teachers, healthcare workers, aid workers responding where there is need, the writers and journalists who help us understand our world, and the artists who open us to new ways of understanding. We ask of ourselves this day that we be sensitive to the world's suffering, that we be determined to answer it with love, that we be a people who delight in what is good, who confront what is cruel, and who heal what is broken. We particularly hold in our thoughts and in our hearts joys and sorrows within our congregation. Barb?
I'm Barb Glass, a member of the Pastoral Care Associates. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. In collaboration with our minister, the Pastoral Care team provides a ministry of support, hope, and caring so that no one in the congregation feels alone at difficult times in their life. Whoops.
We had your page.
Yes, we did.
We had it all in place.
We did.
It was so perfect.
It was gorgeous.
It was a work of art.
Indeed. Wow. We don't have it. It's not in here. I think we should at least do.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for that. We lost our page. But there is something, there are a few things. I have one joy. This week, Dante Ortez Bernardi and her mom, Laura, will be traveling to Minnesota so that Dante can receive gender-affirming care at the clinic in Minneapolis. This is care she was receiving here in Iowa until the gender-affirming care ban was enacted in March. It took a lot of phone calls, a lot of wrestling with insurance to get to this point, but we are grateful she will be getting the care she needs. We wish this for every trans child in Iowa. And Laura says, we don't need cards or anything, but if you want to use us as an extra plug for the Iowa Trans Mutual Aid Fund partner, we're game for that. And we did have a longer list of sorrows, but this is a great sorrow. Longtime member Michael Lauer moved from the hospital to in-home hospice yesterday and died there, surrounded by his loving family last evening. May our hearts be with Sarah, Karen, and family as they begin their long journey of mourning and grief. May we be there for them. Cards may be sent to their home address.
We'll light 3 candles, one for the joys and sorrows shared aloud, one for those shared in writing, one for those held silently among us. And all of these we'll hold silently in our hearts for a minute of shared silence.
Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, O my soul. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, O my soul. Sing with me, sing with me, sing with me, oh my soul. Sing with me, sing with me, sing with me, oh my soul.
The mission of First Unitarian Church is to grow ethically and spiritually, serve justly, and love radically. And contributions to the offering baskets go toward First Unitarian Church's general operation budget, which funds all our ongoing operations, our ministry, our programming, social justice work, and so much more. Contributions to our Faith in Action partners by members and friends may be made by scanning the QR code on the back of your order of service. This year's partners are Free Store, which helps provide household items to families recovering from domestic violence and other trauma, and the Iowa Trans Mutual Aid Fund, which financially supports trans, binary, and gender-diverse Iowans as they access gender-affirming care. A reading from the notes of Martha Sherrick-Shen, who I'm glad to say will be added to our celebrant team very soon, so you'll see her in person with her things. I have been studying the African concept of Ubuntu. In Desmond Tutu's book, God is Not a Christian, he wrote, Ubuntu is the essence of being human. It speaks of how my humanity is caught up and bound up inextricably with yours. It says, not as Descartes said, I think, therefore I am, but rather, I am because I belong. I need other human beings in order to be human. I can be fully me only if you are fully you. I am because we are. For we are made for togetherness, for family. We are made for complementarity. We are created for a delicate network of relationships, of interdependence with our fellow human beings, with the rest of creation. Ubuntu speaks of spiritual attributions such as generosity, hospitality, compassion, caring, sharing. It speaks about the intrinsic worth of persons, not dependent on extraneous things like status or race or creed or gender or achievement. When we become our covenant, we become Ubuntu.
Imagine a religion where people of different beliefs worship as one faith. Back in the aughts, a Unitarian Universalist ad campaign promoted this slogan. Imagine a religion where people of different beliefs worship as one faith. How could that be? One faith, one religion, many beliefs. That's possible because religion isn't really about belief. So when I'm asked, what do Unitarian Universalists believe? I usually answer, what Unitarian Universalists believe is that your religion isn't about what you believe. So what is religion about? I'm so glad you asked. 3 things. 1, it's about how you live, the ethics and values that guide your life. 2, it's about community, the people you come together with to share in rituals that affirm your community bond. 3, it's about a certain kind of experience, the experiences we call religious experience or spiritual experience, those moments of transcendence and awe, of apprehending the beauty and wonder and oneness of all things. Now, those are 3 rather different things, and yet a faith institution exists to weave them together so that each one supports and reinforces the other 2. The ethics and values that guide your life facilitate your community belonging and prepare you to be open to transcendent experience. Your faith community helps reinforce certain ethics and values and also helps lay the ground for you to have transcendent experiences. And transcendent experiences expose you to a oneness that awakens compassion, which becomes a part of your ethics and values and also draws you closer to community. In faith community, each strand of the braid is shaped and directed so that it can reinforce the other 2. The idea that religion is about believing goes back to St. Paul. When Paul invented the religion known as Christianity, his big innovation was to make believing what it was all about. And when Islam came along 6 centuries later, it followed Paul's model. And so Islam is also belief-centric, but the other world religions are not. The Asian religions, they have teachings, but if you happen not to accept a few of them, that's fine. And what makes a person Jewish isn't what they believe, but what they practice, and that they have a shared history and understanding of themselves as a people under the laws. From our roots in Christianity, Unitarian Universalism has traveled a long road back from belief-centric religion, and it was a road of understanding ourselves more and more as a people of covenant. Not creed, which is to say, not belief. A key step on that road was the Cambridge Platform. I'd like you to know the Cambridge Platform if you don't, or know of it a little bit. The Puritans who founded the Plymouth Colony in 1620 and the Massachusetts Bay Colony in 1630 proceeded to adopt in 1648 the Cambridge Platform. These Puritans didn't have a strong political tradition other than the sense of being bound in covenant. They felt need for neither a creed nor a specific structure of church governance. After all, they were God's people bound together by covenant, and that was enough. But today, we don't agree with those Puritans on much, but we are their descendants. 200 years after the Plymouth Landing, or invasion, the Unitarian denomination formed consisting of New England congregations that split from their Congregationalist Puritan past. We've left behind the focus on sin, the doctrine of total depravity and of predestination. We have sought and still seek to correct the way that covenant was used to dismiss and disrespect and oppress people, such as the indigenous people that were deemed then not to be in the covenant. One thing we have kept from our Puritan forebears is this sense that we are a people of covenant, not bound together by creed. Unitarians today are for a generation, the Plymouth, the Puritans that after did need to have a polity. Of the principle of their church would Presbyterianizing them for a polity, so they did Episcopal polity, which is what at that time had. They didn't want Presbyterian polity, governance by called presbyters, what back in England churches had, that is from the Church of England. The Puritans would also have been aware of Catholic Church's governance, and that was definitely out of the question for them. So they decided in 16 to create a polity that was none of the above. It would be a polity based on covenant, and they called it congregational polity. And the Cambridge Platform 1648 spelled what this congregational polity meant. They laid out a basic form for congregations to have, a role for pastors, for teachers, ruling elders who oversaw church administration. They authorized a few ways that congregations had responsibilities to each other. They were to take thought for each other's welfare, consult and advise each other, admonish congregations that erred, members of one member to receive communion in other churches, send letters of recommendation. A member goes to a new church and financially assist poor churches. Beyond these, each congregation was autonomous. The Cambridge Platform of 1648 is the foundational document of congregational polity, the polity we still follow today. Along with our free search for truth and meaning comes free self-governance. We make our own bylaws, elect our own board, hire our own staff, call our own minister, buy and own and maintain our own buildings and grounds. It's up to us alone to fund the maintenance of our home, the programs, the ministry through which we nurture our spirits and help heal our world. Critics of congregational polity call it a type of religious anarchism, and there is some truth to that. Still, we share our congregational polity with a number of other denominations. The United Church of Christ, formerly known as the Congregationalist Church, also descends from those New England Puritan churches, namely the ones that didn't break away to become Unitarian, and they also have that congregational polity. Baptists and various forms of non-denominational Christianity have congregational polity, as do Quakers, Disciples of Christ, most Jewish synagogues, many Sikh gurdwaras, and most Islamic mosques in the U.S. Some of these are also officially creedless, although they do have shared scripture. Unitarian Universalists are, to the best of my knowledge, alone in being held together neither by the authority of a creed, nor by the authority of a common scripture, nor under the authority of a bishop, synod, diocese, presbytery, or conciliatory. Which raises the question, well, what does hold us together? Sometimes, sadly, the answer is nothing, and we come apart. Congregations acrimoniously split or dissolve. When we are held together, the name for our sticking by each other is covenant. Another covenant that may be more familiar to us, that even secular folks have the experience of covenant, is the marriage covenant. That's sort of an example that we can look to see how it works. That is a promise to stick together, to share each other's lives, to provide mutual support. The words of the vow can be highly variable, but at base, it comes down to promising to stick together, share each other's lives, and provide mutual support. It's a committing of our lives that is ultimately beyond what any set of words can capture, whether those words are the vows spoken at a marriage ceremony or the words of a congregation's covenant. Yes, you can make a promise without signing a piece of paper, whether that paper is a marriage certificate or a membership book. You don't have to sign anything to make a promise. It's just that signing makes the promise public, makes the relationship public. Signing that paper tells the world that you have entered into a sacred relationship with a spouse in one case, with a congregation in the other. I'd like to pause here and let that sink in while Bruce provides us with an interlude, and then we'll have part two. Our greatest 20th century Unitarian theologian, James Luther Adams, understood God to be community-forming power. That power, which comes into existence when human beings gather in a group and which allows that group to form itself into a community, that's what James Luther Adams called God. So Adams did a great deal of thinking and writing about voluntary associations, about the covenants that are the community-forming power. Unitarian Universalist Association's Commission on Appraisal issues a report every 4 years. Their 2021 report was called Unlocking the Power of Covenant. The Commission observed, "We are the promises we make and the vows we break." A covenant, it says, is a mutual sacred promise between individuals or groups to stay in relationship, care about each other, and work together in good faith. They go on to say, quote, "No single concept is more central to our faith understanding than being in covenant. It's at the core of our identity. It's how we try to build and sustain the beloved community. It is the foundation of our governance structures at all levels," end quote. Ultimately, the covenant is beyond language, beyond what words can say. It's the embodied commitment to keep on being together in love. Married couples may have long forgotten the exact words of the vow they spoke on their wedding day. Yet as long as they remain married and together, they are embodying their covenant in their way of being together. The ultimate covenant is beyond words, but is embodied in our way of being together. It's expressed in our patterns of interaction. Still, attempting to put the wordless into words can be helpful. Giving it some words, inevitably imperfect and needing regular revision, but still some words to express our commitment to each other, that can provide helpful guidance about how we shall be together. For congregations, covenants come in two main forms. There's aspirational covenants and there's behavioral covenants. Behavioral covenants delineate the behaviors we promise to follow or avoid. Because behavior is publicly observable, we can notice when someone has broken covenant and encourage zeer back in the right relationship that our covenant says we promise to uphold. It's a reality of being a people of covenant that we sometimes do break covenant. And that reality means that being a people of covenant also entails being a people of forgiveness, recognizing that we stray and calling each other back over and over every time we do. The life of covenant turns out to be less about staying and more about returning over and over and over again. Reverend David Pyle was with us this weekend for a startup workshop that some of you were here for. Reverend Pyle has had some Zen training, as have I, and he referenced the basic teaching for Zen meditation: focus on your breath. We usually suggest first-timers count their breaths, 1 to 10, and then start over at 1. Or just bring your attention to the breath coming in and going out. Your mind will wander off. It will start thinking about one darn thing or another. That's okay. That's what minds do. The mind secretes thoughts the way the liver secretes bile. The practice is, as soon as you notice you've wandered off, bring your attention back to the breath. The practice is the coming back. The point of a 25-minute meditation sit is not to be so concentrated that you stay focused on the breath the whole time. The point is to spend that time coming back over and over, noticing a thought, letting it go, returning to the breath. Returning to the breath is the practice. And as Reverend Pyle pointed out, coming back is also the point of the practice of covenant, to return over and over to mindfulness of the promises that define who you are. Our aspirational covenant is our mission: grow ethically and spiritually, serve justly, and love radically. That is not behaviorally defined. There's no stipulation as to what behavior constitutes growing ethically and spiritually, or serving justly and loving radically. So we can't judge whether someone else is out of covenant. Certain behaviors might cause us to inquire gently whether the person is keeping the aspiration in mind, but ultimately, only you can decide if you are keeping the covenant to grow and to serve and to love. And only you can assess how well or how poorly you're growing, serving, and loving. You haven't broken covenant. You haven't broken this covenant unless you've stopped trying, stopped aspiring to grow and serve and love, stopped bringing your mind back to this covenant every time you notice you've drifted off from it. Behavioral covenants, on the other hand, do stipulate some behaviors. Because behaviors are observable, behavioral covenant allows us to go the further step of holding each other in relationship of accountability. We have a team at work now developing a behavioral covenant for this congregation. Covenants make us. They spell out who we are. And when I don't know who us is, then I don't know who me is. By becoming more conscious of our covenants, spoken and unspoken, we can live into them more fully and become who we are with greater awareness and greater intentionality. Marcia Pally's 2016 book, Commonwealth and Covenant, recognizes that we need both situatedness and separability. We need to be situated, embedded in functional and caring families and thick communities that define our values and ourselves. Villages of ordinariness in which you can be your plain old ordinary self without the constant expectation to prove yourself. And we also need separability. We need to have the freedom and the support to go off and create and explore and experiment with new ways of thinking and living. What creates situatedness, notes Pally, is covenant. A contract protects interests, she said, but a covenant protects relationships. A covenant exists between people who understand they are part of one another. It involves a vow to serve the relationship that is sealed by love. Contracts stipulate an exchange of goods or services, but people in covenant delight in offering their gifts. We are here to offer each other what gifts we can, to hold open the space of grace. It's about seeing the goodness and dignity and the failings and foibles of one another and still loving each other. I was once leading a Zen group that met weekly in the 2nd and 3rd grade classroom of our church. Every week, we Zen practitioners would gather in this room, and there on the wall, handwritten with marker on newsprint, was the class covenant. It showed all the signs of a process in which grown-ups were drawing the language as best they could out of the 7- and 8-year-olds so that it would really be the kids' own covenant. It said things like, 1, listen and speak when someone is holding the speaking stone. And there was 3, pick up after each other and ourselves. Don't litter. Notice, pick up after each other and ourselves, not just after ourselves. The last one was 11, come together with a calm and open mind. Nice. My favorite one, though, was number 2, be kind to others even when they're not your friend. Even our kids grasp the gist of the point that being a people of covenant means seeing goodness and dignity even among the failings and foibles of one another and still loving each other. It's about giving of ourselves and being called together into a different way of being in the world. I have been held and held together in covenant with Unitarian Universalists my whole life. And now I am held in covenant with you. It is such a wonder. Thank you so much.
together. We have the grace of age, we hear the wonder of youth, and believe that growing is an answer. Our lives are full of wonder, and our time is very brief. The death of one among us fills us all with pain and grief. But as we live, so shall we die, and when our lives are done, the memories we share with friends, they will linger on and on. We believe in life and in the strength of love, and we have found a place to be together. We have the right to grow, we have the gift to believe that peace within our living is an answer. We seek elusive answer to the questions of this life. We seek to put an end to all the waste of human strife. We search for truth, equality, and blessed peace of mind. And then we come together here to amaze of what we find. And we believe in life and in the strength of love. And we have found a joy being together. And in our search for peace, maybe we'll finally see, even to question truly is an answer.
Please say with me our unison chalice extinguishing words. The flame is now just to carry the encouraging fire of spiritual growth, the warmth of acceptance, the light of love. These abide in our hearts, in our words, and in the work of our hands.
Take courage, friends. The way may be hard, it may be unclear, and the stakes are very high. Yet take courage, for deep down there is also this truth: you are not alone. Go in peace.
Be ours a religion which like sunshine